I'm Ashton Addison from the Crypto Coin Show, and today on Blockchain Interviews, we have Prahalad SK, co-founder and CEO of Safeverse. Prahalad, welcome to the show, and thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, Ashton. Thanks for having me on your show. It's my pleasure being here. Thank you.
Likewise, I'm excited to dive into your expertise in VR and AR, learning, gaming, training. This is going to revolutionize how we learn and where we learn from. And this technology is at the forefront of innovation, of reimagining the whole educational experience and gaming and having more fun. And I know your team's been working on this for quite a while. Today we're gonna dive into all of Safeverse. But before we start that, I would love to just get a little bit more on your background and how you got this far, and then we'll dive into all of the latest with Safeverse.
Sure, perfect. So once again, so that's me, Prahalad. So before I started Safeverse, so I come from a very strong gaming and software background. So over close to 2 decades of experience I have. So I started my career with Activision. So I was one of the very first core team member to work on the game called Call of Duty. It's a well-known game globally. So we were the first team to be part of it. And that's where, all the fun started to know about gaming, the foundation of gaming, the tricks and tips in the gaming industry. So from there, I was fortunate to move on to the next, level of experience with NVIDIA. So I was there for almost 6-7 years. So I was one of the very key subject matter expert in the whole of the company. So I was the only person for NVIDIA Global to advise on gaming, other development industries, OEMs and everything. So combining all those things, I would say that we're part of the evolution of all this smartphone technology, virtual reality, and everything. So I was fortunate enough to be there at the core, during the development of all these things, and at the very foundation, I would say. Now, from there, all the experience and everything, I started the company back in 2016 called Zyna Labs. That's the parent company of Safeverse. So far, we have been very successful with all the, the projects and everything. We have worked with Fortune 500 companies globally and the governments, with the US government, with the European government, for a lot of VR experiences, in fact. So we have done very unique projects for that. So that's where it's all coming from. And Safeverse is one of the, new evolution into the Web3. That's where we wanted to go in. And that's where we started this last year.
Very cool. And yeah, NVIDIA, they are very hot right now. It's amazing. And Call of Duty is pretty cool as well. So that's a great background, Prahalad. And, now moving towards VR technology in the future, there's so many different use cases that VR can be used for. And, it's been in the works for quite a while, and there have been limitations we can go into a little bit deeper. But from a high level, can you explain what are the main initiatives that Safeverse is working on with VR and AR technology right now?
So virtual reality is growing rapidly. It's a $24 billion industry. And the pre-pandemic levels, if you see, there was not much of an adoption globally. Now, post-pandemic, fortunately, it has become a very big revolution because the devices are becoming much more cheaper and also very powerful in terms of performance, in terms of visual quality, everything. Now, on the other part, VR economy is very monopoly. What I mean here is that whoever is manufacturing the device, like MetaQuest or HTC Vive or Pico, they are actually enjoying the majority of the market share because they own the hardware, along with what is most important is that the content. So the content is not available, anywhere else in the market. Just like, you cannot go and access a VR gaming or a VR experience from an app store. There's no such thing actually. It's very limited. So that's where all these OEMs are enjoying the majority part of the market share. For example, MetaQuest is earning more than $100 million every year just by using the subscription model from their app store. So from this perspective, you see, we are still not in a very mature market. So that's where we have to change. That's where companies like us should come in. And not only Safeverse, I would encourage a lot of other VR companies to come in and start developing, high quality content. Maybe it could be a VR gaming, it could be VR training, it could be some other experiences. So from the Safeverse point of view, that's what we are doing. The Safeverse would be, one of the world's largest VR library and the marketplace. So when I say VR library and marketplace, users can get engaged with our platform with VR gaming or VR training. So that's what we are doing.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a monopoly right now, and there are limitations. I feel like there should be more development and an open marketplace for different apps to be created and experimented with, so that I doubt it would hurt the profits of these companies that sort of have a bit of a stranglehold on the marketplace, because the industry could grow 10 times the size. And there's all these different use cases. So is Safeverse working specifically on different content, or are they also working on a marketplace for the accessibility of that?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So now Safeverse is being built on the Web3 platform. Now, if you look at the Web3, the whole ecosystem and the economy is mostly, into trading, into revenue sharing, or something that using the token, the users want to, monetize, their experiences or their purchases, whatever it is. So keeping this in mind, Safeverse is not only going to engage with the existing crypto users or the economy. We want to bring in non-crypto users also into the economy. So that is one of the biggest vision, the values, what we are looking at, because you need a platform to engage, something very attractive for somebody to come and engage with you. Why would someone come and engage with you when there is no, kind of an value add for them? So that's where we want to bring in a content as well as a marketplace. When I say content, the users will subscribe to the Safeverse gaming or learning content, but at the same time, in the marketplace, they can actually buy and sell digital assets. They get access to NFT, rewards or the other in-app purchases, everything. So what happens here is that in the Web2 world, whenever you purchase a digital asset from a gaming application, it's in benefit to the company. You cannot sell back that digital asset. But here on the Safeverse, what the users can do is that they can purchase the digital assets. At the same time, they can also sell it back in the marketplace. You can say it's like a user-generated content.
That's great, because I was going to ask you, how does the blockchain and the tokenization fit into this sort of VR training, learning, gaming? I feel like, there are still so many applications for Web2, just, revolutionizing different industries and jobs and being able to learn in VR. But of course, especially when you go back to gaming, it's great to have all these VR digital assets. It's very cool. But if those same companies that you mentioned at the beginning are just extracting all of the value from it from themselves, then you're really not getting as much as you're paying for. Could you explain a little bit more about the blockchain side? And so you're planning on having different tokenization through NFTs, maybe in specific games to start, and then are there also cryptocurrencies and payments and wallets? How else does that work?
So the users can subscribe to the Safeverse content with subscription model. So it has like 3 to 4 different, very flexible subscription model. So it could be as low as $10 to anywhere from $50. So this is very much, cost effective to keep the users, more engaged into the platform. At the same time, to keep it affordable, not to blow up with some, like more than 500 or 100, like 600, $700. That's not the plan. And the second thing is that, so how does the token work here? Is basically using the SafeV token, they can subscribe, of course, that's the first part. The second part is that they can do in-app purchases. In-app purchases that could be, leveling up in the game or leveling up in the training. The third part is that they get access to the contest and events and come to join the community. So this is where they can monetize their token. So for example, today we have announced our very first VR gaming title called Project Blackthorn. So it's a more of an adventure and survival game. Now, what users can do for this game is that they can actually come up with their own digital assets. So they can sell it to the Safeverse platform. Of course, we have some certain guidelines and quality policies in place. So they have to meet that to get monetized. So what happens once the game gets launched? They get engaged on every level. So level 1 would be to complete certain actions. Level 2, to complete certain furthermore actions. So every time they clear some certain actions, they get rewarded. And at the same time, we announce certain topics where they can contribute to specific topic. So for example, in Project Blackthorn is like more like an adventure and survival game. In some part of the game, we might need some assets about, wreckage of an helicopter, debris, or some weaponry things and everything. So all these assets they can contribute where they get monetized with that. And of course, this is it's like more like a revenue sharing, you can say business approach.
Mm-hmm. That's exciting because on the VR gaming side, I know there's a lot of potential for Web3 gaming overall to grow, and probably some of these big publishers will start incorporating these different tokenization techniques that you're working on with Safeverse. But VR gaming, from what I've seen in the past, what I've used VR, the gaming is very limited or sort of a small mini game. I feel like the potential for that, with the advancements that you mentioned about the quality and the hardware getting better, that the games will get hopefully to like a Call of Duty level someday.
Very much. That's where the whole, the technology is evolving. Actually, the hardware is becoming better and bigger, and also affordable. And of course, this opens up opportunities for a lot of companies like us or the developers to have a good high level quality content to experience.
Mm-hmm. So are you, with the Safeverse technology, are you just going to be working on games that are produced in-house from Safeverse, or will there also be other gaming?
So we'll have our original content, exclusive content. So certain category of content, we'll have this to engage with the community. But of course, we have an option if users goes to our website, safeverse.io, there is an option called Developer Zone. So either you are a freelancer or an individual freelancer, either you are a VR company or something, you can actually contribute to the Safeverse ecosystem. So here, what happens is that apart from our exclusive content, people can also come up with their own content or ideas. They can host this on the Safeverse platform, which becomes a revenue sharing model. So we take your content to the global community, and so you don't have to worry. You just host it onto the Safeverse platform. So people get access, and you have a bigger revenue share. Sitting at your place, you can reach out to the global audience. So this is also, we have one more option. So that's why I'm saying here, we have a much more open, ecosystem here to contribute and also to give back. So,
mm-hmm. Okay, that's great to know. I'm going to look into that. And with the game that is being developed in-house, as you very well know, working on Call of Duty and in the gaming industry, depending on the size of the game and how big it is, it can be a year or many years to develop a great game. Of course, mini games and smaller games can be faster. What are some of the timelines looking like for the games that your team is developing?
So one of the strategy we are looking here is that not to come up with too many games. This creates a lot of distraction to the users. Once they come, if you take an example of Netflix, you have so many, content to go and see. You will get lost lost in the ocean of all the categories actually. So that's a good for entertainment, but not for good for gaming. So what we are coming up with is that just two or three main titles, maybe probably two titles. So this has so many various levels of engagement. So if you take an example of Counter-Strike, it has been there from last 20 years. Yeah. So, but it's the same old thing, but only thing is that it has become more and more graphically, visually good every time. But the same strategy remains the same. You need to come up with a strategy to plant a bomb. The counter terrorist to come up with a strategy to defuse the bomb. So it's a very simple thing, but millions of people still engage with that and stay play. So similarly, in the VR aspect also, you cannot wear for more than 15-20 minutes continuously to engage. So that's why we need to come up with levels that is good enough within 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So you complete and you engage with the next level. So this is what we are planning up.
Yeah, that's a great point. And the one other aspect that I want to dive into also is VR learning, and this especially post-pandemic, as you mentioned. I feel like a lot of people are just looking for alternative ways for education and learning, and VR is a great alternative. What is Safeverse doing in that part of the industry?
So apart from the gaming content, we'll be having some exclusive learning content as well, especially specifically focused on safety and compliance, first aid, natural disaster, everything. So if you take safety and compliance, safety is everywhere across the globe. For example, at our own surrounding, if there is a fire happening, 99% people don't know how to extinguish that fire. If you agree with me. So this is what everyone should learn, the basics. So that's what we are coming up with, very basic, skills on the safety and compliance, so people can learn. And also we'll issue blockchain-based certifications so that people don't, come up with some fake certificates that they have completed certain level of training or something. So we issue high-level blockchain certificates that this person is certified on this fire extinguisher or first aid or whatever it is. On the natural disaster side, of course, now we see that there are, huge climatic, disasters happening across the globe. Let it be heat waves, forest fires, floods, not to mention that. So all these things are coming across everywhere. People are not prepared. Civilians are not prepared. So how do you be prepared with something very basic? For example, there is a forest fire happening, or let's say there's a flood happening at your city or at your place. How do you first protect your loved ones, your own family? If everyone has such certain capability to take care of those things, so a lot of lives could be saved. That is also one of our vision. So with VR, this could be something very huge, because you get realistic, immersive experience of a flood system happening in your place, and you get to train on all the ad hoc scenarios. So tomorrow there is a certain scenario which is happening. God forbid it's happening around your city. You get to save your own family, your own surrounding, your friends, neighbors, and everything. So that's a big thing, right? So this is also something that we want to leverage. And the beauty of this is that we are not going to, have a separate development effort for gaming or learning. For example, when we are building a survival game, we are going to use the same content to build some basic survival skills or safety skills.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. So we can use the same content, but two different learning experiences here.
Mm-hmm. That's great, and I feel like that's very important, especially people are the fact that 99% of people aren't really prepared for this stuff.
Yeah.
And if you can turn it into more of a gamification, or build it into a game somehow, you're actually having fun with it and you're learning at the same time.
Yes, exactly.
Love it. So with all of these different initiatives Safeverse is working on, what's sort of the main roadmap for the next steps of growth towards the end of 2023 and into next year?
So far we have been working on a lot of demos. So basically we are testing certain ideas, concepts, and everything. Now today, just yesterday, we came up with a new concept. It's going to be the first the title on the gaming side. It's called Project Blackthorn. That's going to be the first VR gaming title. So that's going to be the priority in building this into actually a beta version where we are planning to launch this by end of next year, April. So that's what going to be the milestone. And of course, we are also into the fundraise, the first priority one. So earlier we were able to raise very quickly, like close to 700K. But of course, the market conditions were not so good until now, and we are going to restart the funding side as well. So it's going to be both on priority, the funding, and the second thing is developing this project title where we're trying to release this on beta version for the next year. On the April, end of April.
Very exciting and nice to have a tentative timeline for the gaming. I'm going to follow along with those updates. For the viewers that want to follow along for the updates on the game and the other parts of Safeverse, and also about the fundraising efforts, what is the best way to learn more about it and stay in touch?
So we are pretty active. Every week we post the update into the Safeverse website as well. So please go and check safeverse.io. Or the best thing is check in on our Twitter handle and also the Instagram and the LinkedIn page. So we are quite active in all these three platforms. We keep updating regularly every week with the newest update from the development side, from the project side, from the fundraise side, and everything. Yeah.
Sounds great, Prahalad. Thank you so much. I will leave the link to Safeverse website and the socials you mentioned in the description box below. All the best with the gaming and all the VR initiatives moving forward. I'm looking forward to seeing it all grow, and let's definitely follow up in the near future.
Thank you, Ashton. Thanks once again for having me on this show. So thank you very much for your time.